We've been working on a lot of really exciting deals and whatnot in the digital asset space. I think one of the most interesting things that we've had the opportunity to work on recently is working with transfer agents here in the United States, trying to help them, as we help a lot of our other clients, discern the dividing line between software providers and those who can operate in an unregulated space versus those who are broker-dealers or other types of regulated entities, and what exactly, what type of software programming, smart contract creation, et cetera, lends itself to being labeled a broker-dealer or in some cases an exchange. We've got a lot of great development as far as like products and accolades. Recently we've been awarded spots in the Legal 500 in Band 1 and 2, both in the U.S. and outside the United States. So I think that Clifford Chance has been making a very concerted investment in the digital asset and fintech space, and I think you can see that playing out in the awards that we're winning just around the world. There's been a lot of evolution, I think, on the regulatory side. I mean, at least there's been a lot of activity. I think that a lot of people in this space were really hoping for a little bit more clarity from the SEC, but to the SEC's credit, they have been commenting. It may just not be as clear a commentary as I think the industry would like. I think the industry is also evolving in the sense that there's a lot more regulated players and people taking the regulation seriously, whereas before it was kind of a, don't ask, don't look before you leap, just kind of make that leap. I think people are seeing with some of the ICO-related enforcement actions that may not have been the best move, but hopefully what we're going to see is as the regulatory landscape flattens out, people get a little bit better idea of what is allowed and what is not allowed. It really opens up entrepreneurs to work within a set of guidelines that they can use to really push their products forward. And that's what we're really hoping to see in the next few years, I would say. I think a lot of what you hear nowadays, particularly on, when you're talking about blockchain and what it can bring to the table, I think is that there's too much going on in the market at the moment, and too much that has to be involved in the particular trade. You have transfer agents, clearing houses, broker dealers, all various different types of intermediaries that evolved in a system that was very different from the almost instantaneous settlement you can have on a blockchain network. So I think that over time, as I think the SEC recognizes that. I think that the SEC will always be looking for gatekeepers in order to hold people responsible for bad activity that occurs in the U.S. securities market, whether it's on a blockchain or otherwise. But I think that the SEC is starting, I hope, to kind of get the idea that maybe we don't need all of these different players. But I think it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't know that we're ever going to see things flatten the way a lot of people would like to see, such that all you're really worried about in a securities transaction is person A trading on a blockchain-based exchange, going through a smart contract, having it executed, and just being done. I think that we're a long way off from that. There will always be intermediaries somewhere in the mix. It's just a matter of defining who those will be in the future and as we move forward in the industry. One of the main things about securities tokens in general, even digital currency, is the approachability factor. And I think that as we see things like Libra come to market, if it ever comes to market, but I think that it will. It's got a lot of backing behind it. But I think as we see those types of stable coins and whatnot getting into the market, proliferating, people will get more comfortable with the technology. And as that happens, I think that people will be more comfortable with the tokens. And I think over time, you're going to have this just proliferation of people who are comfortable with the technology, comfortable making the purchases, and they see something, particularly people my age, even younger, that they feel like it's kind of theirs in a way, as opposed to something that belonged to their parents or their grandparents. I think that certainly in the regulated markets, we've seen a couple recent Reg A Plus offerings, so those are open to retail investors. People are able, again, to access the market in a way that I think they're maybe a little bit more comfortable with than having to go through a broker or something along those lines. I also think that what we're seeing we're also seeing kind of like, I think tokens are great because they kind of open up people's imaginations in a way. I think there's actually a Nets player who recently announced that he's essentially tokenizing the future revenue in his basketball contract, that he was going to be paid over time in order to get some money now and then make investments with. And I think that that sort of thing is not something that we've talked about for a very long time. It certainly isn't the first time someone's tried to do it, but I think that it's got a lot of buzz behind it. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if this is just one of many or kind of a one-off thing. So I think that all of those things really lend themselves to tokens and to people getting more comfortable with them, being excited about them, and moving forward, being able to get this into a more comfortable space where people really want to use this, and the institutional investors, retail investors, everyone's a little bit more comfortable with the technology.